a powerhouse in strategic HR leadership, known for driving transformation across industries, Ms. Runa Sengupta.
I am a part of the leadership role, and my role is not just about the processes and policies. It's about making that organization a great place to work.
In a world where engagement often becomes a checkbox activity, what does it really take to create strategies that people feel, remember, and carry with them?
So, in terms of my engagement journey, I could only say that engagement is an emotional currency, and it's built on trust, consistency, and relevance.
Hello and welcome to FaceTime with Leaders, a podcast by Directors Institute, World Council of Directors. I'm your host, Sunny Pancholi, and today we have with us a leader who has not only influenced the HR landscape, but continues to redefine what people leadership truly means in today's complex business world. Ms. Runa Sengupta, a powerhouse in strategic HR leadership, known for driving transformation across industries and geographies. With over 2 decades of experience and a track record spanning global talent strategy, organizational development, and employee engagement, her insights are as valuable as they are grounded in real world impact. Welcome to FaceTime with Leaders.
Thank you so much, Sunny. Looking forward to this actually.
All right. So, Ms. Sengupta, every career has its own rhythm, its own turning points and learnings. Why don't we start there? Take us through your journey in your own words. What were some of the early chapters, the pivotal shifts, or even the unexpected turns that brought you to where you are now?
Sure. Thank you. I'm actually delighted to share my journey with you, Sunny. If I were to look back, actually, my career in HR was not something that I stumbled into by chance. It was a conscious choice rooted deeply with my interest in people, basically, how they think, grow, and thrive in organizations. So, I began my professional journey over almost 2 decades ago, and each chapter has added a unique layer as to who I am today. So my early days were grounded into training and development roles. And these formative years actually taught me the power of communication, empathy, and structured learning. And more importantly, as to how to connect with people across different levels. So I still remember the thrill of conducting my first session and the satisfaction of seeing someone actually grow because of that. So as I moved on to more strategic roles, you did mention during my introduction that I had the opportunity to lead HR across 11 countries. And that, according to me, was a pivotal shift. So I think it, rather not, I think it actually challenged me to think globally, respect the cultural nuances, and build cohesive strategies that worked across the geographies. So I feel that was a point in time where I actually truly honed my skills in international HR, mergers and acquisitions, global compliance. These were some of these learnings during that period. And moving on to my role in SLR and that which I'm currently handling with Weir Minerals, as a head HR, it gives me a platform to shape the culture, drive transformation, and align basically the HR strategy, HR being aligned to the business strategy. So at Weir, I am a part of the leadership role, and my role is not just about the processes and policies. It's about making that organization a great place to work, and whether it is talent development, succession planning, or employee engagement, I see HR as a catalyst to the business success. And in this journey, it doesn't seem that there were any challenges, but yes, I did go through a lot of challenges during my course as well, like navigating change, managing crisis, or driving performance in uncertain times. But each of these challenges, I must tell you, has actually been a lesson for me in resilience, adaptability, and leadership. So, cutting the long story short, what kept me going is a simple belief that HR is not just about managing people, it's about unlocking your potential, unlocking the potential of the team that we are working. And that's what I strive to do with every team that I work with.
Absolutely. And what an incredible journey you had, Ms. Sengupta. And what really stands out is the clarity with which you have navigated every phase, not just moving up, but moving with purpose.
Thank you.
All right. So continuing our conversation, Ms. Sengupta, you have led employee engagement at some truly dynamic workplaces like Barcon, Essilor, and Weir. And what really stands out is how seamlessly you have connected with both blue collar and white collar teams. So I'm curious, in a world where engagement often becomes a checkbox activity, what does it really take to create strategies that people feel, remember, and carry with them, regardless of their role or level?
That's such an important question, actually. And that is one thing that I have always reflected over my years. For me, employee engagement has never been a ticking box or organizing events for just for the sake of it. It's basically more about creating moments that matter, an experience that make people feel that they're seen, heard, and valued, whether it is on the shop floor or in the boardroom. So, quickly to actually walk you through one of the initiatives that stands out for me during my career was where I led engagement, and we had to introduce the a structured personal onboarding journey. And this was not just an induction, but a 6 month touchpoint program. So I personally met the new joinees at regular intervals, listened to their experiences, and helped them to navigate through the culture. That simple act of being present and listening to them significantly actually helped the organization in handling their early attrition. It actually helps build trust from the day one. So, apart from that, I did handle engagement at organizations which were both unionized as well as non-unionized, and engagement is slightly much more different in these cases. So, in such an organization, we focus more on employee relations and risk management, build on empowering the leaders to become people leaders, and we train them to have more meaningful conversation, not just performance reviews. And that particular shift from process to purpose makes the actual difference. And that's where people started relating to and enjoyed their work while they understood the requirement of the work in the business scenario and how they could cater to the expectations laid down by the leaders. So in terms of my engagement journey, I could only say that engagement is an emotional currency, and it's built on trust, consistency, and relevance. You cannot copy paste any strategies across roles or across organizations. You have to listen, adapt, and most importantly, show up, and not only as HR, but as a human being. It's only then that engagement is your, in true sense, your emotional currency.
What a powerful reminder, Ms. Singh Gupta, that real engagement doesn't come from policies or posters, but from listening, understanding, and meeting people where they are. Great, great. And also, Ms. Singh Gupta, I have to say, when I look at your journey, the scale alone is remarkable. I mean, managing HR across 11 countries at TT Services and now leading 500 plus employees at Weir Minerals India. It's not just a wide canvas, it's a complex one. But what really caught my attention is how you have carried that consistency in leadership. So I'm genuinely curious, if you look back at all those chapters, was there a particular moment or shift that truly redefined the way you lead?
Absolutely. And thank you for asking such a thoughtful question. If I had to point one defining moment, it was during the my time where I was managing HR for almost across 11 countries. In fact, that was my first true global role. The complexity of aligning HR strategies across such varied cultural and regulatory landscape was immense. But what really shifted my leadership approach was, in fact, a moment of failure. Um, so we had to roll out a global performance management framework, and that on paper was robust and very well designed. But what happened was within a few weeks, I started receiving feedback from employees, from my own team, that felt that it was too rigid, too top down, and very disconnected from the local realities. That was very hard for me to hear, especially after so many months of work, but it was also a wake up call for me. That's when I realized that leadership isn't about having all the answers, and it's more about listening, adapting, and then co-creating. So that's when we actually paused the rollout, brought in the regional voices, and rebuilt the framework with their inputs. So the result was definitely much better than what we had created earlier. But I also realized my team felt much more empowered and felt more inclusive in terms of the culture. So since then, I've always ensured that I have a collaborative leadership mindset, whether it is with blue collar teams or with the senior leaders. I've always learned to ask, and rather than being assuming, and that has helped me become much more comfortable with vulnerability, being more open to feedback, and focus on building trust, right, and rather than on control. So yes, that one experience taught me that leadership isn't all about a title. It is a relationship, and the strength of this relationship actually depends on how well you listen, how much you care, and how willing you are to grow alongside your team.
Absolutely. And that's incredibly insightful. And I really appreciate how honestly you shared that. Ms. Sengupta, when I was going through your details, what really caught my eye is how you have built recognition framework that blend both empathy and metrics, which is very rare. And recognition is such a human thing, yet you have given it structure without losing its soul. So I'm curious, how did you develop that kind of approach to something so personal?
That's a beautiful way to frame it. And honestly, it was again a journey of learning, listening, and evolving, just as I mentioned in engagement. But early in my career, I realized that recognition was often leaned towards intuition. It was heartfelt, it was inconsistent, and some people were very often celebrated while others equally deserving ones were going unnoticed. So that somehow didn't sit well with me. So recognition, according to me, should be something that is inclusive, fair, and reflective of the real contributions, and just not about visibility. So what I began to do was to explore how to blend empathy with the structure. uh, I worked on building a recognition framework, and that was both quantifiable and meaningful. So what we introduced was both non-monetary recognition programs that were very clearly tied to the metrics. But apart from metrics, we also included peer nominations, value based awards, and even recognizing the unsung heroes that celebrated behind the scene contributions from the people. So at Weir Minerals India, we have a very centralized recognition framework, which is very transparent, data driven, and deeply human. We use metrics to ensure fairness, basically impacting the frequency, diversity of recipients, and alignment with the values of the organization. But when we started tracking the impact of recognition, it was not only in terms of participation, which generally many organizations do, but in terms of how it influenced our engagement scores, retention, and even productivity. And we actually saw clear correlation when recognition is more timely, specific, and authentic, it actually creates a ripple effect of motivation and trust. So again, with this project of recognition, again, I learned that metrics don't kill the meaning, they actually protect the purpose, and they ensure that people feel seen, not just for what they do, but how they do. When the that's when I feel that recognition becomes much more powerful.
Rightly said, Ms. Sengupta. And in fact, that's such a thoughtful way to look at it. You have managed to give recognition both meaning and structure. And I think a lot of leaders listening today will walk away with a fresh perspective on how to do it right.
Thank you.
All right. So I'm curious to ask you, with everything you have built so far across industries, geographies, and teams, it's clear that your impact has been both deep and wide. And it makes me wonder, when you look ahead, what's next for you? Is the boardroom space something you see yourself stepping into more actively?
That's a question I've been reflecting quite a bit lately. Um, After almost 2 decades across industries, geographies, and diverse teams, I feel incredibly grateful for the depth and breadth of experiences that I've had today. In fact, each chapter has shaped not just me as a professional, but also the perspective on leadership, culture, and impact. So, what I feel today is looking ahead, I do see myself stepping into more actively in the boardroom and governance roles. uh, Boardroom is where I feel why I feel that I am now more actively looking at these roles is also because boardroom is where I feel the strategy, culture, and accountability intersect. And I believe HR can actually bring in a unique lens to this space. So because what makes me that very confident is because we understand people, risk transformation, and long-term value creation in a way that is deeply aligned with what the businesses need today. And what also draws me in this space is my opportunity to influence organizational purpose, ESG priorities, and inclusive growth. So, based on my experience where I led large scale change, built global HR frameworks, and driven talent strategies that align with the business outcomes, I believe those experiences have prepared me to contribute meaningfully even at the board level today. So, yes, apart from the ESG priorities or where I want to contribute, I'm equally passionate about mentoring the next generation HR. So, yes, the next chapter, according to me, is somewhere where I can have a strategic influence, governance, and also give back, whether that's through board roles or advisory positions or mentoring. It's all about scaling impact, not just within the organization, but across this ecosystem.
Absolutely. And since we are discussing about ESG and corporate governance, Ms. Sengupta, given the kind of roles you have held, leading policy, compliance, people strategy, I am sure corporate governance isn't just a concept for you, it's been part of your daily leadership reality. So, in your experience, how critical is strong governance in shaping not just business outcomes, but also the culture and trust within an organization?
Thank you for asking that question again. Actually, in my experience, government governance is just not a framework. It is definitely the foundation of trust. So, having led HR across diverse sectors and geographies, I have seen firsthand how strong governance practices influence not only compliance and performance, but it also influences the emotional climate of the organization. So at Weir, where I lead HR, governance is actually embedded in everything that we do, whether it is starting from workforce planning and compensation to employee relations and policy alignment. So it's just not about ticking regulatory boxes. It's more about creating the consistency, fairness, and also provide the psychological safety for employees. When employees know that decisions are made very in a transparent manner, the policies are applied very equitably, that's where I feel governance actually helps leadership become much more accountable, and it also helps build in this culture of trust. So one example that stands out for me is how we handled our policy realignment and compliance across our plant operations. So by involving employees in the process, clearly communicating the why behind the changes, and ensuring every policy is both legally sound as well as culturally sensitive. So we've seen a tangible shift in the employees' confidence and engagement levels when that went right. So I work very closely with both the unionized and non-unionized teams in my previous experience, where governance played a critical role in risk management and ethical decision making, which is so very important for leaders today. So whether it was resolving grievances, implementing performance improvement plans, it actually helps us become much more responsible towards the decisions that we are making. And whether it is a performance improvement plan, strong governance actually helps build that conversations with integrity and respect for leaders. So yes, governance shapes business outcomes, but more importantly, it shapes the soul of the organization, where human beings, where our employees live and breathe through.
All right. Okay. Uh, I think you have captured how governance isn't just about compliance or structure, Ms. Sengupta, but about creating an environment where trust and responsibility are lived values. Really beautifully put. Beautifully put.
Thank you.
All right. So, given the depth of leadership experience you already bring to the table, and since you have recently joined Directors Institute, I'm curious to ask you, what drew you to the institute at this stage of your journey?
That's a wonderful question, and one that speaks to where I am in my leadership journey today. So, after spending 2 decades in HR leadership roles across organization, I had the privilege of working at the intersection of people, policies, and performance. Right. So, where I felt governance, compliance, and strategic alignment have been a part of my daily reality. They were just not concepts, but they are my lived responsibilities. So, joining Directors Institute felt like a natural next step for me, because what drew me in was the depth and relevance of their curriculum itself, especially its focus on the ESG, boardroom dynamics, and evolving role of the directors in shaping sustainable and ethical business. So this program just didn't reinforce what I already knew based on my experience. It actually challenges me to think differently, to connect the dots across the industries, and even to prepare for governance roles with a broader, more strategic mindset. So for me, this isn't just about a career progression, but it's about scaling the impact. And why I want to do it is because I want to contribute to the organization not only as an HR leader, but as a boardroom voice uh, that actually champions culture, ethics, and long term value creation. So, DI, that is Directors Institute, is helping me build that bridge with clarity and confidence.
So good to hear that, Ms. Sengupta. And it's always encouraging when seasoned leaders like yourself find value in what we are building.
Thank you.
Great. So let me tell you, Ms. Sengupta, this has been such a rich and honest conversation. And thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your journey, your insights, and your wisdom so generously. I know our audience are walking away with a lot to think about.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. Wouldn't have happened if I wouldn't have been associated with you all.
Great. Thank you once again. And to our audience, thank you for spending your time with us here on FaceTime with Leaders, a podcast by Directors Institute. If today's episode reminded you of the kind of leader you want to become or the boardroom you are ready to step into, then you are exactly where you need to be. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep leading with purpose. Thank you so much and have a nice time.